Today on the DML News Podcast, we're going to talk about Joe Biden stepping down, Kamala Harris rising up, Obama in charge of it all. This is going to be one of those good shows you'll never forget. You're going to look back at it and say, my goodness, what's happening to the country? And it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. Across from me is Denny. Across from me on the other side doing the controls is my son Ryan. Both of them back in the saddle with me here, back in Florida after 2 weeks of being gone. We really did miss doing the program, as we have been doing it now for nearly a year here in the news studio, and we thank you for being a part of us. We are making today's show available to people for free, also on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter, or better known as X. We ask you, please, if you enjoy this show, to consider joining TeamDML.com. We have a special going until the end of the month. You can wind up becoming a member for a 1-year membership that usually goes for $200. You can get it for $18. It's for new members only. You come on in. You can see how great it is that Team DML is. Thousands and thousands of members. We have a live chats that's 24/7, 365. We're also incorporating some new live programming. You're going to love it. Get in there, especially with this election going on. You do a number of different things by becoming a member. Number one is you set yourself up with the best thing in the world. You've got our newsletter, you've got our DML News app, and now you're a team member. You get everything. There's nothing you miss. And like I said, the live chat and the ad-free news on the DML News app, and you're guaranteed never to miss the Great American Newsletter. So please give it a shot. It's only $1.50 a month, or even less than that, 50 cents every 10 days, or, I mean, you can keep on doing the math. You can wind up becoming a member for basically 3 cents a day. So it helps us stay in business as well, because we're no longer doing the ads thing. We don't want to feed into Facebook or Google, because ultimately it's like paying someone to kill you off. Dennis, so it was a roller coaster ride. And all along, I have called it completely 100% correct. We'll get to that. But last week was sort of a he said, she said, we will, we won't. It was a titter-tatter. Didn't know what direction it was going into. Barack Obama in one hand, along with his minions, Nancy Pelosi, Jeffries, and Schumer, all were putting pressure on Joe Biden. That's how Barack Obama does things. He does it through proxy. He does it so this way he has a surrogate doing it all given times. Barack Obama never gets his hands dirty. Oh, no. So Barack Obama pushed heavily, as I know he would, as he has been writing the script for a very long time, actually dating back to the 2020 election. Barack Obama wrote this script. That's right. Think about it. I told you going back a long time ago when the Iowa and the New Hampshire primaries were unfolding and Joe Biden had no chance in hell. It was a Bernie Sanders show. I said to everybody, there is no chance in God's green earth that Joe Biden is not getting this nomination. And here's why. Hillary Clinton was supposed to win. She was supposed to clean up the murder scene. She was supposed to dispose of all the dead bodies before they started to rot and smell. And on the way to cleaning up the crime scene, there was this guy named Donald J. Trump, and he basically stole the show. And it was like, uh-oh, can we get through this? And so what happens? There's only two people who can take that presidency to clean up the dead bodies. That's Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. Michelle Obama could have done it, but she told her husband, no way, you're not getting me back in there. And so we watched a guy who barely placed in Iowa, barely placed in New Hampshire, suddenly rises like a phoenix and wins South Carolina and then runs the program. Every Democrat just drops out as if they were never dropping in to begin with. That's Barack Obama, my friends. That's Barack Obama. Barack Obama pretending like he wasn't behind it. He wouldn't endorse Joe. And this whole media narrative that there was something between the two of them, some kind of stickiness that we weren't friends. It's total BS. It's the way you cover up. It's called reverse psychology. And so Barack Obama sees to it, not only that Biden wins a primary that he was grossly losing, but then in the middle of the night, on election night, after Trump is dominating all day, after he's been dominating all election season and having a 4 great years, notwithstanding COVID, Joe Biden miraculously is the benefit of a magic act where Obama pulls Biden's head out of a hat and now he's the president. Think about how this is all gone. And so Joe had to go in and he had to clean up the mess. He had to clean up the dead bodies. The problem is the stench gave him dementia. And now it became a whole lot harder. And then on top of that, that stupid son of his, those pesky kids getting in the way. You could hear Obama now. He sounds like the guy from Scooby-Doo. Hunter Biden got in the way with that damn laptop and Burisma. Obama said, enough of this. We can't have any more of this. This guy needs to go. He's got to get out of there. I got to put my insurance policy in. And his insurance policy was Kamala Harris. Because Kamala Harris, the bobblehead she is, let's not be unburdened by what was burdened and burdened to what was. Whatever that means. Barack Obama has something on Kamala Harris. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. But Kamala Harris is just as controllable as Joe Biden. She speaks just like Joe Biden. Only she's got a nicer figure and smoother skin. And she's a girl of color. So Barack has everything he wants. And so he had to start laying the bricks for Joe to go. Nobody knew it was happening. Nobody knew it was happening. Because remember, nobody knew that Joe had any kind of cognitive decline. Nobody knew it. All the things falling down the steps, going up onto the airplane, nobody knew it. Calling on dead people during a press conference, nobody knew it. Normal stuff for Joe, just another gaffe, another day. Barack Obama knew it. Kamala Harris knew it. Everybody in the Democrat Party knew it. Everybody in the media knew it, but they just shut up because Obama didn't hit the button. He didn't hit the release eject button. He said, you're going to keep quiet on this. You're going to keep it stifled. Come on, people. This is not a conspiracy theory from DML. Think about it. You should have had half the Democrats in this country, half the Democrats in the media, half the Democrats in D.C., all calling for Joe Biden to be pulled off the stage. He was sounding so as stupid gets. He looked like he was high on drugs during the State of the Union. And they kept on pressing it that he was fine. He was great. Joe's doing a great job. Not a single person had the balls or the guts to say anything to the different. And do you know why? For the same reason that none of those Democrats decided to stay in the primary. Because Barack Obama said, if you stay in, if you run against this guy, if you cause him to lose, you are never going to win another election for the rest of your time. And oh, by the way, we're going to dig up every single last bad thing you ever did, and we're going to multiply it by 10. That's why everybody dropped out. Mayor Pete was allowed to stay a little longer because he's gay. It's the truth. Kamala Harris was the first person to drop out. She was the first person to drop out in that election. The first one. Do you want to know why that was? Because Barack Obama told her to get out of the way. We've got something for you on the back end. And oh, by the way, you look really good in that dress. So the whole thing has been happening behind the scenes, under the grid. And Barack Obama knew, as I wrote to you 2 months ago in my newsletter, of which some people told me I was wrong and I was crazy. I told you Barack Obama wants Donald J. Trump to have that debate and have it early. These debates never happen in June. And you heard Trump say it himself. I never thought that Biden was going to accept my challenge to a debate. My goodness, what's he thinking? He's not. Barack Obama's thinking. Barack Obama knew that if we could have a debate, the world will be able to see what we've all been seeing and ignoring. So we don't have to be the guilty ones. We could bring Joe out by allowing Trump to be a freaking bulldozer over this man. And we'll all be like, ooh, we didn't know it was that bad. 90 unfiltered minutes. Ooh. It's all a game, people. It's all a script. Never forget, the Democrats are Hollyweird. This is what they specialize in. They specialize in tricking your brain into thinking you're watching something real when really it's a made-for-TV drama. And so what we get is we get this big, huge surprise. Oh, my God. Really, what Obama gets is he gets the stage door. He gets to open it and get Joe to fall through it. But he's got to do it creatively. He can't be the one to come out and say, Joe's got to go. Oh, no. Instead, what he does is he creates another platform for everybody to see at a fundraiser where Barack has to hold Joe's hand like Father Time, like Mr. Magoo, and pull him off stage. You don't think Obama knew everybody in the press was going to wind up taking that video and sharing it all around the world? Of course he did. Of course he did. And then everybody started to question, but not Obama. Obama never questioned. Not once did he question. Oh, no. Oh, no. Instead, he had George Clooney write an op-ed. Instead, he had the editorial board at the New York Times say it's time to drop out. Obama pulled every single last ace he had in the hole, and he pulled it out and said, start doing your work. We got to do it quick. And I can't say damn anything about it on the way to the way. And then what happened? They all started falling in line. All those Democrats that were quiet for so long, never said a damn thing about him, reverse face. Joe Scarborough, a make-pretend Republican, the rhino of all rhinos, told us just weeks ago, this is the sharpest Joe Biden I've ever seen. This is the Joe Biden we want. He may be aging, but this is Joe Biden at his finest. Only to just a week ago say, what is the Democrat Party going to do? Joe's got to go. It's time to go. How do you flip the script like that? I'll tell you how you do it. It's when you write it. When you've got the plot, that's the turning part. Same thing. 3 weeks ago, the queen of all evil. And I'm not talking about AOC or Ilhan Omar. They're the queens in waiting. I'm talking about Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, she gets up there on CNN with her little shaky hands and all the insider trading stuff that's driving her crazy because she's not sure how much she's going to make off the Nvidia stock. Yelling at people at CNN. Joe Biden is not ill. Joe Biden is with his head and he's fine. The person who is not fine and not within their head is that dementia patient, Donald Trump. He can't remember the truth. Now, all of a sudden, after we get our guy shot, and 48 hours later, he looks like Superman with a belly. He's out there on the stage pumping his fists. A week later, he's standing giving a 90-minute speech. He probably hasn't slept all week in a hotel room, and he can keep on going. Then he goes to another rally for 90 minutes. You're not going to pass off on anybody that President Trump has dementia, let alone sleepiness. If Joe Biden was the guy who got tackled by 10 Secret Service agents, if he was the guy who wound up shot in a year, he'd be in the hospital still to this day, getting fit for a hearing aid and having a broken hip. Trump is touring the country. So they knew they couldn't play that game. So then Joe mysteriously got COVID out of nowhere. Multi-boosts, multi-vaccinated. Joe Biden, the commercial for Pfizer and Moderna about how it is that the jab works, has COVID. So bad so that he's still in bed today with his little Visiting Angels t-shirt and his vanilla ice cream. And of course, he's being cared for by the Dr. Jill. Oh, yeah. And he's been going back and forth. Wait a second. We're the ones in charge. We don't have to listen. This is not how democracy works. You can't push me out. Barack Obama can't push me out. And Jill's like, he ain't going to push us out. He's not even really from America. I don't believe his birth certificate. No, I'm telling you, this is the way it was going. Jill and Hunter's like, what are we going to do about me? What are we going to do about me? What are we going to do about me? Where's my cocaine? And Joe's sitting there saying, wait a second, I'm the best president there ever was. All the people are telling me they're going to make, I'm one of the best presidents there ever was. I'm the president, right? He doesn't even remember. And then Barack Obama, getting the pressure. When's the king going to come in? He knew the timing was perfect. He knew the timing was perfect. So what he does is he calls up and he tells Joe Biden, hey, Joe, I've suggested you drop out in the past. I've hinted to it yesterday, and I am telling you today, you're either out or we're going to expose everything you've ever done. You need to leave. That's how democracy works. And if you don't leave, you know what happens next, which is we call them the Clintons. You're going to move over and you're going to give Kamala the handle. Let's go. And that's how it worked. Joe Biden was squeezed out. He's got too many skeletons in his closet to fight back. And so now the party that tells everybody how democracy works, they sure are showing it. A handful of Obama delegates are going to choose that it's Kamala Harris. And even when all the media puppets yesterday, the ones who break out of the Obama line, the ones who basically follow the little BS story crumb that he gives, start talking about Josh Shapiro, start talking about this one, start talking about that one, make it look like we don't have a Kamala just set up. Then what happens? Joe comes out with his little thing. Oh, by the way, not only did I put my letter out of resignation from the race, I'm going to stay in as president, which that's going to change too. But on top of that, here's another note. I forgot to say I am endorsing Kamala. Oh, you are you? Sure. And that's what Obama wanted, because now everybody's going to fall in line. And they have, little by little by little. Even Bill and Hillary got online and said, we support Kamala. And would you know it? Only one major person so far hasn't endorsed Kamala. And who do you think that is, Denny?
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama. Oh, that's what you call reverse psychology. Yeah, he's not going to endorse her, because if he endorses her, then it looks like he's done this the whole time. So he's going to play the same stupid game he did, pretending like he wasn't going to endorse Joe until the very end. And he does the same thing over and over. Meanwhile, he's got that woman on speed dial. Yeah. You want to talk about not being unburdened? Pick up the phone when I call, baby. And that's the way it goes. And so Obama's going to play the head fake that he's not going to endorse anybody, and he's just sitting back there, and this has to unfold on its own. My ass. My ass. And if you want cement poured over this whole thing, last night, Kamala Harris, in a 24-hour period since the time that she was anointed the queen, has raised online $50 million. Do you know why that is? That is so this way, any single Democrat who even thought for a moment, like Joe Manchin or anybody else, that they were going to run for president right now, basically was just told, those are 50 million bullets pointed at your head, big guy. Don't even think about doing it. No Democrat is going to play any game with Kamala. She's going to be the one. What you're going to hear now for the next few weeks, and I mean they're going to press it hard. Kamala Harris is beautiful. Kamala Harris is great. Kamala Harris came from nothing. Kamala Harris is an immigrant family. Kamala Harris has done so much for women. She's so passionate about America. She was a stallion in the Senate. She was a warrior as an AG in California. They are going to, everything that Joe keeps on telling you he's done great, she did it. Every single thing that Joe did wrong, she argued against it. Border czar, he never let her do her job. That Joe Biden is going to be the villain times 50. And Kamala Harris is going to get softball interviews. Kamala, how do you keep your skin so clean? This is the kind of thing that you're going to get, because they are going to make it. And this is the most important part of this conversation. They needed Joe Biden to leave, because there was no way they can pull off another 2020 shenanigans. Nobody would ever believe it. It happened the first time because there was a little question of doubt that people were pissed off about Trump and Fauci and COVID, and that they were going to blame him, and that Joe Biden, even though he was ineffective for 50 years in government, was somehow going to be the shining white knight that was going to come in and save the day. Little bit of doubt. Too many people hate Trump. He can't win. And what happens in the middle of the night? You get the Magic Act. And even though we wanted to push against it, people said, no, it's believable. Believe me. Now what happens after you see Joe walking around like Mr. Magoo? There's no way you can pull off a cheat. There's no way you can pull off shenanigans and get away with it. You need a new character. And so they're going to do the same thing with Kamala Harris as they did with Biden. They're going to make her sound like she's the only one in the country who can truly beat Donald J. Trump. And they'll put a little doubt, and the polls are going to be fixed. Instead of it showing Trump at 60 and Kamala Harris at 40, it's going to be 52 to 49, 52 to 50 with a 2 to 3 point margin of error. Believe me when I tell you, they're going to take those things and they're going to make them really tight and squeaky the whole way through. And it's going to be like, oh my God, you're kidding me. That poll really reads that? And all of a sudden, Michigan and Ohio, instead of being the 7-point and 10-point for Trump's favor, is going to wind up being a 1.2 point, too close to call situation, because that's the way you set up the little reasonable doubt that Kamala Harris may have been able to pull this one out because people just can't stand Trump. That's the storyline. You watch it unfold each and every day. That is the storyline. And on the other side, if they don't try to take him out again physically, they are going to run more ads than you've ever seen in your life. You are not going to be able to see a single ad. You think you're going to see My Pillow ads on Fox News anymore? Forget about it. Mike Lindell, get out of here. We got Kamala ads. The ads are going to be everywhere. They are going to be anti-Trump. They're going to make Trump look like the devil. And if that doesn't work on its own, because that's just loosening the ketchup bottle, in comes Dr. Kangaroo, better known as the judge in the New York City hush trial case. Mr. Judge is going to come in. He's going to jump in there like Mr. Kangaroo, and he's going to look at Donald Trump in sentencing, and he's going to put him in jail. And the world's going to upend. And freaking MAGA's going to go crazy. And somebody's going to probably do something stupid that they shouldn't. And there you go. It's going to go all over again. It's January 6th all over again. This is what's going to happen. Democracy is going to fall on its ear. You watch what that judge does in September. He's going to try to trigger the most radical of radicals. And they're all going to tell you, we warned you about this. He's going to be a dictatorship. He's never going to leave. He's got Project 2025. I'm telling you right now, this man is dangerous to democracy. And every single last independent who is sitting there worrying about inflation is going to start to say to themselves, oh, maybe the inflation will go down. Maybe the interest rates are going down. Because, oh, by the way, looks like the Feds are going to cut something in September. And, you know, gas prices have gone down. Funny how that happens. Stock market's starting to go up. Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, this script, I can write it in my sleep. It's so predictable. And yet we've got to worry. And Dennis and I are going to talk about this in 2 seconds after we get his point. And he's going to talk a little bit more about Kamala's fundraising. We have got ourselves a real dilemma, because I don't think the RNC is taking seriously how it is that the left is preparing to cheat. Dennis, I turn it over to you after that very long introduction. If you want to add something to it that you think I missed, have at it. Other than that, give us what we know about this Kamala Harris fundraising.
Well, I wanted to point out a little fun tidbit now that Kamala is more likely going to be the nominee, and then whoever she chooses as her VP. This will be the first presidential ticket since 1976 that hasn't had a Bush, Clinton, or Biden on the ticket in some capacity as president or VP.
Yeah, the first race that won't have that.
Any of those names on the ticket.
Wow.
1976.
How crazy is that?
Yep. It was funny because I'm like, is that true? And then I'm looking, I'm like, oh, okay, HW, VP for him. You know,
Bill.
Biden was VP. Yeah,
George.
Yep.
Hillary. Yeah. Biden. Wow. Wow.
Just goes to show.
So 50 million, is that the number? What's the number?
Yeah, so Harris's presidential campaign has raised nearly $50 million in grassroots donations. I think the real total is $49.6 million. The campaign told Fox News Digital that the figure represents grassroots donations raised across all entities, including Act Blue, which is one of those big PACs that is always raising for them.
Of course.
Yeah, unprecedented amount. I mean, that's in a 24-hour period for
It's a lot of money.
A woman who literally didn't win any of her primaries.
Well, if you look at Kamala Harris's track record, right? She gets appointed. She's always lucky. She gets appointed by Joe Biden because of her color and her female status. That's what Obama wanted.
The DEI hire.
Yeah, and now
be our first DEI president.
DEI, yeah, and now you're going to basically. She doesn't even have to win an election or a primary. I mean, democracy. You had 14 million people during the primaries vote for Joe Biden. They don't get to say anything because now it's going to come down to a couple thousand delegates that Obama controls. That's how it is that the person's going to be picked. Joe Joe gets squeezed out, an insurrection, he's gone. That's how democracy works. And if you don't like it, Joe, we'll bring in the Clintons because Crooks isn't around anymore. Right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, do you think it's your analysis is pretty spot on. Do you think it's a for sure thing that Kamala is the chosen one and that they wouldn't have something in the bag for the DNC?
Absolutely. I'll tell you why. You got all these people online talking about how Hillary's going to start. You know, Hillary's the best person for it. This is her last chance. She could do it one more time. Trust me when I tell you, it ain't happening. Barack Obama is the king of this party. He has been since the day he made his first speech and everybody thought he was the darling. That's why they pushed Hillary off to the side so he can run. So he is the one who decides who is and who is not. He is a smart, cunning man. He knows his party right now is splintered. He's not going to let it become the Republican Party, which has been splintered ever since Reagan left. Okay, and still has been splintered even under Trump. Trump is only starting now to coalesce everybody together. You know, let's not forget, we all see Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz and Mike Lee all standing up there. Trump, 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 Trump. These three guys hated him. We're calling for his head. So finally, Trump's bringing everybody in all together. Barack Obama sees this. You think he's going to let his party unwind and unravel like the Republicans? Not a chance. He stops it now. He's going to tell every single last person, listen, your only chance of getting into the White House is if you're picked for VP. That's it. I mean, even today, I read something real quick on the way over here that, you know, Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, who, you know, looks good, sounds good, whatever, if you like that kind of thing. They're saying we can't pick him. He's a Jew. Right? So he's out of the running. You're going to see somebody like a Bashir, maybe even see Buttigieg. I have no idea. Maybe they do that just to make everybody feel a little flowery there in the LGBTQ month, you know, because every month is LGBTQ month. I think people need to be reminded before they get blindsided of who Kamala Harris really is. Because you're going to wind up, they are going to cherry pick every single last quote she's ever said. Anytime she's ever even remotely sounded half smart, that's what you're going to see. But I want to remind people of who this woman is. We have a 30-second clip showing Kamala Harris saying the same baffling question about unburdened, what burden was. Play it, Ryan.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
What can be unburdened by what has been. 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 What we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
All right, Ryan. Now, let's not forget something. Today in the newsletter, in fact, Ryan did this part. Ryan does the part about the border. There are 3,000 people coming in a caravan right now up to the border because they fear that Trump's going to win the election. They want to get through before he changes the rules. Let's not forget that for the last 3 years, we've seen 20 plus million people cross our borders. And Kamala Harris was appointed the border czar. It's like she got the job and then she went somewhere else. We've never heard anything from her about it. In fact, let's remind everybody what she said when she was asked about, are you going to the border? Play it.
We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making.
You know, Dennis, this is just a little bit of funny. Just a total bit for funny. But this is an old video of Joe Biden telling Kamala Harris that if he ever had to drop out, he'd just come up with some kind of illness. Play it, Ren.
And I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign. We don't have that. We haven't, and we discussed it.
Do you? I mean, you're all over Twitter. Do you read a lot of people really seriously questioning whether Kamala Harris is going to be the person?
I've seen a lot of different interesting takes. I mean, you got people who are saying if they're hardcore Democrats, there's no time to bicker, debate. This is our lady, full speed ahead. And most of those people are probably getting paid by the DNC in some way. Then I think I did it for my headlines today, that you'll have some people who are kind of pissed off. Like, this isn't the woman, we were rooting for, championing for. Why are they pulling this at the 11th hour? And obviously you have laid into detail why it is. And then just based on her leadership, you got videos like that where she's gaff-ridden. You got videos where she doesn't know what she's talking about. And you got old videos that show that she is a hypocrisy of what she claims she's, looking to do for the country. And yet, she was putting people in jail left and right. So how much of a progressive do you really think she is? A very interesting take. And this one is probably not as widely used. And this guy, I forgot his name. He had mentioned it. And he was getting called a misogynist and this and that. But I think it's interesting. She has no kids of her own. Like she's a stepmom, and if you look at the stepchild, she is like a non-binary kind of girl who doesn't shave her armpits kind of thing. So that just shows
they're Jewish, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have that where she's not a mom, and his big approach, the tweet I was reading was that when you have kids, there's a stake in the future, in the sense that you want to see things get better. You want to see how things are going to go because you want your kids to prosper and thrive. When you got someone like that in power, even Biden, right? Because Biden, did everything for Hunter, even though he was an absolute screw up, and he would do stuff for his kids. Although, and same with Trump. Trump's got plenty of kids and grandkids. He wants to fix the country for them. Kamala doesn't have that, so she has no incentive to do by that, which I think is why she's been such a huge. She's not really the border czar. She's been the pro-life. Pro-choice. My bad. Pro-choice. Face of this administration. So I definitely have some concerns there that she's not really got that motherly instinct to care about the kids of tomorrow.
She's power hungry. What did Trump have to say about all this?
Yeah. There was that leaked video a while back where he kind of slammed her, even in a more vulgar way of just like, she has no effing idea what she's talking about. He wrote some Truth Social posts, if you want me to read them real quick.
Yeah, give us at least one.
Crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve, and never was. He only attained the position of president by lies, fake news, and not leaving his basement. All those around him, including his doctor and the media, knew that he wasn't capable of being president, and he wasn't. Now, look what he's done to our country, with millions of people crossing our border, totally unchecked and unvetted, many from prisons, mental institutions, and record number of terrorists. We will suffer greatly because of his presidency, but we will remedy the damage he has done very quickly, make America great again. He's got some more similar ones where he's slamming Joe. When it comes to Kamala, though, he feels that he's pretty confident that he could still beat her.
Yeah, I know that. The other thing, too, is he is saying what other people are saying is that Joe Biden, if he can't run for office, he can't be running the country.
Yes, and there are some signs that he may actually resign by the end of this week.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. And I'm going to get into why that. Why don't you read the statement from House Speaker Johnson? He wrote something that was rather interesting. Go ahead.
Yes. At this unprecedented juncture in American history, we must be clear about what just happened. The Democrat Party forced the Democrat nominee off the ballot just over 100 days before the election. Having invalidated the votes of more than 14 million Americans who selected Joe Biden to be the Democrat nominee for president, the self-proclaimed party of democracy has proven exactly the opposite. The party's prospects are no better now with Vice President Kamala Harris, who co-owns the disastrous policy failures of the Biden administration. As second in command and completely inept border czar, Harris has been a gleeful accomplice, not only in the destruction of American sovereignty, security, and prosperity, but also in the largest political cover-up in U.S. history. She is known for as long as anyone of his incapacity to serve. Regardless of the chaos in the current White House, our adversaries around the globe should be reminded that the U.S. Congress, the U.S. military, and the American people are fully prepared and committed to defend our interests both at home and abroad. If Joe Biden is not fit to run for president, he is not fit to serve as president. He must resign the office immediately. November 5th cannot arrive soon enough.
So the Kamala Harris storyline needs to fast forward itself. Joe Biden needs to step down. That's what they're going to tell him. And Barack Obama is going to put more pressure on that. There's a couple of things that happen and why it's strategically strong for the Democrats and why it's also something the Republicans want. It depends on whose storyline works better. For sake of history, by Biden stepping down, Kamala Harris officially goes down as the first female and, by the way, woman of color to serve as U.S. president. It's a guaranteed. It's in there for the storybooks. It's in there for the books. It is going to be tough for the Democrats to make Kamala Harris look smart. They realize this. She is going to be in Joe's shadow. Joe Biden is going to try to keep and retain power because his ego is going to get in the way. Barack Obama knows this. And it's going to start to become a war between the two of them. Hey, I'm the nominee. And Joe says, well, hey, don't you forget I'm the president. That is an ugly fight internally. So if it's splintered now, it's going to get cracked tomorrow. So first it's Joe's got to go. See, Obama's brilliant. Let's get Joe to go. The Republicans are going to say he needs to leave. We're going to pretend like he ain't going nowhere. And eventually he's going to crack. Mm-hmm. So again, Obama's going to make it look like it's the Republicans who did it this time, just like it was Trump who made everybody see how bad Biden was on the debate stage. Kamala Harris becomes Madam President. Automatically, by getting that title, she becomes a different human being. Trump can't call her Kamala anymore. He's going to have to call her Madam President. He's going to have to treat her with a little bit more respect than he wants to. Everybody's going to have to. She's going to be looked upon not as the person who wants to be president, but as the person who is president. And she will be president for 4 months, almost 4 months. You got what? August, September, October, half of November, half of July, right? A little bit less. 3.5 months. She's going to be the president of the United States. Joe Biden is going to be a thing of the past. Nobody's even going to think about him anymore. For the Republicans, they see it differently. They say, put her in now so we don't have to blame Joe anymore. Now we can blame her fully. We want to blame her for everything. Those 3,000 people coming across the border, let them in. Let everybody see what it is. Oh, we're going to have a couple other people raped and murdered and everything else by these illegal aliens? Let them in. Oh, we'll wind up sending more money to Ukraine? They are going to take her and they're just going to let her implode on herself. That's their theory. So it's the who's got the better storyline, who has it more likely to succeed. That one I can't give you the answer to because I can't read that deep into the future. But it is going to be a ping pong game of unbelievable head neck breaking sort of speed. Joe Biden will not remain the president of the United States. There's no way it can happen. I will guarantee you that much. Now, what concerns me greatly is an article that was in the Gateway Pundit. Now, this is something I have said plenty of times about being concerned about shenanigans and cheating and all the other different things. But there is somebody who took it a little bit further than I did. And it is a guy named Jay Valentine. He runs a company called Omega for America. Now, I'll just read you what they do as a company from their website. We built the eBay fraud detection engine, the foundational technology for the TSA no-fly list, the fraud systems for State Farm, Geico, USAA, and most large insurance firms. Our commercial customers use fractal quantum technology, that's what they have, to protect the power grid, manage the power in major office buildings, predict equipment failures at 200 million transactions per second. We currently run the largest election database ever created, over 3 billion records, integrating voter rolls, multiple copies compared on different dates, the entire FEC database of every contribution to every candidate for 50 years, and the dark money database showing the network connections for NGOs, which is non-government organizations, and 501c's funding many left-leaning causes. Omega for America is a microsite for Factual Web App, a disruptive quantum software company in Austin, Texas. So the guy knows what he's talking about, okay? I'll just read a little bit of what he writes. Michael Whatley, the RNC chairman, in a recent interview from the convention, was asked how the RNC would stop the illegal alien voting. His response, the RNC sent a letter to every Secretary of State telling them illegal aliens are not allowed to vote. The RNC will litigate any incidents of illegal alien voting, and the RNC has hired 100,000 poll watchers to count those ballots. He continues, those are the clueless words of a clueless man thinking he is actually in an election versus an organized, all-in street fight steal. If the cliche, don't bring a knife to a gunfight, was ever appropriate, this is it. Now, and Whatley is standing there with a butter knife. The left is holding an AR-15. The leftists are working hard with NGOs, over 10,000 as far as we've identified, operating in the U.S. in election and related work, registering voters and fake voters, running voter tracking, get out the vote campaigns, and electioneering. Those NGOs are bringing people into the country, registering them at soup kitchens, empty buildings, strip malls, and scores of ballot collection locations. Last week, we published one of thousands of emails witnessing hundreds of non-persons at a food bank. Those people are now gone, but their mail-in ballots are 91 days away. The number now exceeds 500,000 each in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Georgia. The number exceeds 400,000 each in Arizona and Nevada. We will shortly know the number for Colorado and Virginia and expect it to be on the high side. These are the actions of leftist electioneering pros who understand the new reality is not about getting out the vote. You do not need to get out the vote if you can cast ballots by the thousands from empty warehouses. These pros understand they do not need to have their candidate campaign. They just need compliant polls to be close enough so the steal is not too in your face. Leftists understand a growing number of their fellow citizens just want to have a job, go to soccer practice with the kids, have a barbecue on Saturday, and not much be bothered with nasty politics. As long as the leftists do not rub their noses in a steal, who cares? The leftists will make it close. Even though millions of citizens are screwed out of their vote, nobody will do much about it. As a predecessor famously said about adultery, I don't care much what they do, just don't disturb the horses. The courts won't intervene, no standing. They have no standing in the matter. Republican rhinos in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Texas will all go along with it. Nothing to see here. We are data guys with the most powerful data platform for elections ever built. We build artificial intelligence systems to protect the power grid from electric vehicles. Our videos are shaming secretaries of state in a dozen of states and shaming 20 years of fake national election integrity organizations who haven't found any of the egregious fraud we publish in our videos. The data we see in the swing states supports that if the election were held today, Trump would lose Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Colorado, and New Hampshire. That means Trump could be toast. That's with Biden as the candidate. It only gets worse with Kamala. So, this guy goes on to say that they're looking at the data and the Republicans are not. And the data shows over 500,000 ballots are ready to be cast in each of 4 swing states for any candidate with the letter D next to their name. It says, do you wonder why Trump is leading in most swing states, but the Senate candidate is not? Republicans run wealthy, zero charisma, cut out characters in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan who can mostly fund their own campaigns because they had a wealthy dad or hit a one big deal once in their career. No way these guys are going to win. They cannot get close to the hidden ballots in these states, baked into the data. Yeah, I mean, it is just, I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. It says Trump's campaign will spend $20 million in ads to hopefully move 1 point in Michigan, meaning, hey, one more point in the polls. Leftists already set up hundreds of NGOs using tax-free money, some funded by Chinese communist-connected organizations, to make sure every nickel of that $20 million is insert. So, according to this guy, what he's saying is the fix is already in. Okay? And it matches to what I've been saying. If Joe Biden is the candidate and you've got these ballots sitting in the warehouses and you try to pawn off that those ballots have Joe Biden's name on it, you're going to get caught with your hand in the cookie jar. But now when you take what this guy said, you bring up the little bit, that little reason of doubt, and these things go in and Kamala wins. That's why the showing for Trump would have to be so colossal that these extra ballots that they have don't matter. But it's impossible. If this guy is even half right, a third right, you're talking about 150 to 200,000 votes in every single state that they release when they need them. And that's if you don't have servers connected to the internet. And that's your second safety measure. Don't have enough ballots? Turn on China. And one of the things that bothered me most about 2020 is that you never had one court, not one court, say, you know what? Let's take a look at all the evidence. Let's have a hearing. Let's unravel this damn thing. Not one. So you have the little Arizona audit, which at the end of the Arizona audit showed that Joe Biden had more votes than they actually thought he did. Well, that's just fine and dandy. That means that there were more disgusting ballots than we thought. But they left it at that. That was the storyline. And that's why you get all these media companies telling you all the time, it's already been confirmed. Experts say the election was up and up, and so do the courts. Well, no, the courts never heard any evidence. Nobody ever it got thrown out before it ever went forward. You never saw one election integrity courtroom look the same way that it did for Trump when they were going after him because he wrote Michael Cohen a hush money check, or because he said that his property is worth $1 billion when they were only worth $900 million. We saw full-blown court hearings, juries, evidence, stenographers, the whole thing. But when it came to, hey, by the way, we have these ballots that were unfolded. Nope, not good evidence. Throw it out. Not even getting into my courtroom. So nobody has any precedent to go off. We have nothing. We don't have a case hearing. You know, if you're ever in a lawsuit and you see a deposition or anything like that and they make an argument, what happens is the lawyer that's defending you says, hey, Denny should not be held accountable for crossing the street when he shouldn't have, and therefore he should be innocent. And if you don't believe that, look at the case history of Smith versus Nevada. And they use case history of where somebody did something similar to you, and they got off because they said, hey, you can't hold him accountable for crossing in the middle of the street when he's got an emergency. We don't have something like that. We don't have case precedent. We've got everybody threw it out. So we are in, and people listening at home be like, oh, well, we might as well throw our hands up now. No, I'm not saying you throw your hands up now. What I'm saying is instead of hearing somebody like, Lara Trump or whoever, Watley sitting up there and saying, well, we have 100,000 poll extra workers. All right, great. All that means you got 100 extra thousand people to count the ballots that they're going to want to bring in from the warehouse. The greatest sin of the Republican Party is not knowing how stupid they are. They think that they are the smarties because the radicals sound like idiots. When the Republicans are out smoking cigars in the back room, drinking whiskey and playing golf, the leftists are out protesting, burning down buildings, and trying to make change. That's the difference. They're hungry. We're not. And you just can't take a Trump rally. Oh, this is so wonderful. There's no way we're going to ever lose. It's not the way the game's played. It's not the way the game's played. Think about it. Think about the anticipation you've had. It's like a movie trailer. Oh my God, I can't wait to see that movie. Did you see the trailer? Only to go in and they took the best 90 seconds of the whole movie and the rest of the 180 minutes suck. They better wake up in that Republican Party. They better wake up. If I hear this one more person like Ted Cruz get up on Hannity, I know how many times we heard Hannity, Michelle Obama's going to be the... What are you talking about? Michelle Obama's going to be the nominee. Are you even paying attention to what's happening in your own front and backyard? Michelle Obama wants nothing to do with this shit. Obama wants to do it all, and he wants to do it while he's floating around on a boat with George Clooney. What don't you understand? It's the greatest thing in the world. It's like the person who puts in a fake disability claim because they're catching enough money from the government, just enough to pay the bills, and they don't got to get up to go to work. It's insanity to think that anybody thought Michelle Obama was going to run for president. She already is the president. Dumbasses. They can't find their ass with both hands, these people. Well, anyway, is there hope? I don't believe in hope. Obama does hope. Hope and change. Yeah. You know what his hope is? His hope is you don't catch on to what he's doing. And the Republicans just keep marching through. Did you see that rally? Oh, my God, the convention was great. Well, guess what? The election wasn't held last week. Wake up. It's why we lose. It's why we get our ass kicked every single freaking time. Think about it. Think about it for 1 second, how bad we get our ass kicked. You just brought up when was it the last time we had a...
76.
Okay, let's take a look at the elections. George W. Bush comes off the greatest presidency in modern history off Ronald Reagan, right? Barely winds up winning, then winds up losing, right, to Clinton. Clinton has got to be the biggest scoundrel ever to be in the White House ever. And if it wasn't for a Florida court on a hanging Chad, we kind of like lucked out. Al Gore would have been president, right? Then you got Barack Obama. And had Trump not pulled magic out of a hat by going to the places where Hillary blew off, I mean, think about it. This country has been poised to be Democrat run since 1988. And the only thing that has stopped it twice was a hanging Chad and a guy who they thought was a circus act. And they said, okay, no more hanging Chads. And number two, no more circus acts. And what do? They got Biden in there. Now they got Kamala Harris in there. We are actually at the brink of never winning another election in our lifetime because we are falling asleep more and more each and every day. Oh my God, the border's so open. Nobody does anything about it but complain about it on Facebook and Twitter. We're writing our own story. What else is there to say?
I don't even know at that point. It's concerning. I mean, just hearing that report, it's baked into the data as you quoted it. I don't know how you can get the RNC mobilized enough to really get action instead of hope. To take action.
You know, the problem with the Trump family is so impressive. They're very impressive. But sometimes what happens with the Trump family is they start buying their own headlines and they start loving to hear their own voices. and to see their own faces. And I get it. It's not a criticism. I get it. Believe me, I listen back to my own show. But I think they may be missing a part of the story. And here's the part of the story. Yeah, the Republican Party sucks, but the Trumps don't. They're smart. I think where the Trumps may be making a mistake is that they have too much faith in the American way. They are just too reliant on the idea that God is going to see all things through. Maybe God's biggest role was making sure that Trump turned his head, but I don't think he's going to get involved in ballot counting. That one is up to us. All right, I think we close it out on that. What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah, we close it out on that. A little depressing, but listen, you want the truth? You want it? Or you just want to be fed BS and then wake up on election morning and be like, oh, we're gonna win, and then the next morning be like, how did we lose? You know, we're telling you, RNC, we're telling you, people, there's a fire in the basement and it's coming up because hot air rises. We got to do something about it. Now, on a brighter note, regardless of where you're watching this, about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, we told you that we were going to be moving our studio and warehouse facility coming up pretty shortly. And we were starting with our CBD. So we did a big, huge buy one, get one free for the whole month of June. And I told you that after we shipped everything and we got back and we took a look at inventory, anything that was left over, we were going to try to get rid of it. So this way it's less for us to move. And so if you are somebody who uses DML CBD soft gels, dmlcbd.com/gel, GEL. Get in there now. So buy one, get one free for the few hundred pieces that we have left, probably be done by tonight. And that's that. So dmlcbd.com/gel. It's a buy one, get one free. Your order will ship this week and it will be all out to you. All right. Also, don't forget, if you are not a member of Team DML, we're running a big, huge special right now for the entire year for new members only. You get to try it for $18. Give it a shot. You get to watch this program every day. This one we gave today for free, but it won't be like that again. So until the next time, make sure you go to teamdml.com and sign up. On behalf of Dennis and my son Ryan, we're sorry for bringing you down today, but this is the world we're in. Truth matters. It's got to rise to the top. That's the only way we can do something about it. Till the next time, may God bless you, our troops, your family, these United States, and Donald J. Trump.
And today's Team DML blessing is for Kathy Anderson.
All right, Kathy, sounds good. We'll talk to you soon.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.